All right, up next we have my beautiful and fellow Virgo risings. This Scorpio lunar eclipse is happening in your ninth house. So, oh, cut. All right, up next we have my beautiful Virgo risings. So this Taurus lunar eclipse is happening in your ninth house. The moon, Uranus, North Node are all in Taurus there in the ninth. And then the sun is opposite it with Mercury, Venus, and the south node of Scorpio in the third house. So, okay, the other thing I want to mention that's very important is that this full moon is also squaring Saturn in the sixth house. So I hope that you guys watched the beginning. If not, definitely go back, because all of us are going through this point in time where we're shedding older versions of ourselves. But in the process, we're going to have to confront our habitual ways of thinking for you. And this is because 3, 6, 9 house, all three of these houses are representative of the mental faculties. These are our beliefs. This is the information that we ingest, that we share, that we communicate, the things that we think about, our perspectives and philosophies and morals about life. And then the sixth house, well, it is an action-oriented house, is also a very mental house from what I've seen. It's related often to this version of ourselves that is hyper-focused on perfection. It's kind of in line with the Virgo archetype. And it feels like in the sixth house, there is this kind of dogged, work hard, gung-ho attitude where we might even sacrifice ourselves and our own well-being, our mental health even, for the sake of execution, for the sake of progress. And unfortunately, with Saturn in the sixth, it can feel like this really uphill battle where we're trying to make progress, but with Saturn here in this particular house, the progress isn't something that we necessarily can see and feel in a very accurate way. It's something that's delayed and that comes later, and we're chugging up this hill, and we can make it mean many things about us that we haven't seen this progress yet. And we can also continue, as a result of what we're making this mean, to sacrifice our own mental well-being to keep pushing forward. And so what is really needing to undergo a shift here with Uranus in the ninth, with the moon here, is that we're having to shift our entire belief system. And this may be in the way that you prioritize things in your life. And you might have to start prioritizing yourself. So if you have been, for example, putting your health to the side and eating unhealthy foods or having unhealthy sleep patterns or not working out every day and seeing the sun at some point every day, there is a serious check-in that you're likely to do with yourself around this eclipse, where you start to realize that that is not sustainable, that you cannot sacrifice this very essential part of yourself to achieve something. It's like overemphasizing one part at the expense of the whole. And this is something I've been thinking a lot about lately, because I'm doing some behind the scenes work on archetypes and subpersonalities in astrology, which I'm really excited about offering later on in life. And one of the things I've noticed is there might be one part of ourselves that's very driven, which is very Saturn in the sixth house, that's very kind of on our own ass about how we're not doing good enough. But then there's another part of us that needs this feeling of accomplishment, that needs a feeling of love and care and tenderness, that needs a feeling of expansiveness and growth that doesn't come from strict obligations. And those parts of ourselves are not really being honored when we're overworking or we're over critical of ourselves. Even if you're not overworking, there's generally this kind of lieutenant archetype here with Saturn in the sixth of you can do better, you can do more, and this pushing and this stress. I was going to say urgency, but Saturn is not necessarily urgent. He's patient. He's playing the long game, but he's going to apply so much pressure that you break. And so with this Two of Pentacles card, I'm seeing you guys rebalancing with love your priorities. and I literally pulled the love card. So I guess it is possible for some of you to enter into a relationship. You do have Jupiter in the 7th house. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think one of the key significations of this love card is that you're now prioritizing love in this process of deciding and discernment. So I'm going to prioritize my love for myself, which is going to mean that I'm going to talk to myself differently. I'm going to believe I can achieve what I want with less effort. I'm going to prioritize my health and my well-being. And I'm not going to allow myself to just keep whipping myself and punishing myself for not being perfect, which is very Saturn in the 6th house. So you're finally kind of liberating yourself from this cycle. And Saturn is very, very deeply ingrained. So it could feel like this has been going on for such a long time. And it could have really reared its ugly head in 2021 with the Saturn square Uranus, where you were recognizing this needed to change, but you kept falling back into this old pattern. Now this eclipse, you're finally evolving from it. And you are a Virgo. So you have this kind of innate quality within you already where you're going to be your own worst critic. And the Saturn moving to the 6th really can exacerbate this quality within you. So this eclipse is coming to liberate you from your own barraging. Is that the right word? Your own rudeness to yourself. And there is kind of like a lot of like love and sexual. There's like a whole other thing coming in here. So there's something about relationships coming in very strongly for you guys. Okay, maybe it's because Venus is in the 3rd, trining Neptune in the 7th. And you also have Mars aspecting Neptune in the 7th, Jupiter in the 7th, sextiling Pluto. So there's something going on in relationships in particular. Okay, before I get into that though, I wanted to just wrap up this thought where I pulled this snake, the hummingbird, and the whale for you guys. I don't know why, but this is the only group so far I've felt called to pull these animal cards. So this snake is like this Kundalini energy that's basically leads to like a rebirth or regeneration. The hummingbird is a sense of optimism and seeking joy in life, and the whale has deep, profound insight and wisdom about ourselves. So I feel like you guys are reattuning again your priorities to be something that gives you energy, gives you life, regenerates you, instead of just this constant like hitting a wall with Saturn and hitting yourself on the head and then restarting. That is a cycle, that is a singular cycle that's replaying. Whereas a snake card, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a visual conceptualization of cycles that progress. So it's like a spiral where you're revisiting the same pattern, but the spiral turns inward. So it's in a new way, and one in which you're more evolved, right? So I guess maybe you're going outwards. So you're achieving more and more growth and seeing new versions of yourself. You may encounter similar issues, similar themes in the cycle, which is what life is. Life is all cycles. But you're going to encounter it in a really new way, and you're going to see that you're making progress. Whereas before, I feel like you were repeating the same exact cycle. It's like you're hitting restart on a video game and you're going back to the same level. And in this video game, you're now up leveling. So you're still playing the same game. You're still beating these bad guys, but it's on a new advanced level, and you have new badges. You're a new person. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. And the hummingbird tells me that you're now looking at yourself from a place of love and acceptance, and you're looking at yourself more from optimism, and you're planning everything accordingly, and also with this more wise version of yourself where you're connecting more deeply to what feels in your soul like it's the most important thing to do or the most important way to think, and you're reacting accordingly. All right, that message can go to the side. All right, Venus in the 3rd, trining Neptune in the 7th is very beautiful for relationships. I think you'll also start to see that your perception relationship starts to improve as well. And I think you'll start to notice that you're able to let go of maybe some old patterns and old ways of thinking that actually were blocking you from true intimacy. And it might be something that you encounter that's uncomfortable, or it might be exciting. It'll really depend on the person and your individual chart, but I feel like there's going to be something that instigates this new level of openness and vulnerability within the relationship. And this could be any relationship. It doesn't have to be a partnership. Maybe some of you could meet a new partner with this rose card. It is very possible that you guys could meet a new love, or this, I definitely think this has to do with another person, though. I was going to say it could be your relationship with yourself. I don't think so, because of the fact that this is the 7th house, which is about other people. You also have Mars retrograde and Gemini in the 10th house, squaring Neptune in the 7th. So there may be some weird thing to do with your career and your relationship. This might feel like you're not quite sure how these things fit together, or there's some weird collision of these two areas of your life. But I do see this kind of settling, the dust kind of settling and things becoming clearer by the end of the month when Mars makes a trine to Saturn in the 6th house. And then lastly, you have Jupiter and Pisces in the 7th, sextiling Pluto in the 5th. So this is where I kind of feel like this is coming in. Well, let me go back to what I was saying before. I think that maybe this thing with your career could, for some of you, it could be related to autonomy versus connection. So like Mars in the 10th is very autonomous. It's very concerned with its own ish and making its own career a thing. That's part of you guys right now. And Neptune in the 7th is like, but I love my partner and I want to be with them. It's like, how do I make these things work? How do I honor my time with my friends and my autonomy? So I think that for many of you could be one of the things that's going on right now. And some of the healing and the belief shifting that you guys are going to do is going to help you know when is the right time to prioritize your own autonomy. The other thing I want to say with Jupiter sextiling Pluto in the 5th is that I think you guys are going to be going through a transformation sexually. So this new intimacy, I think, is also going to open you up creatively and sexually. And that's why I see with the call of the siren and the Lilith, I think that you guys are going to be opened up to this part of yourself where you start to recognize your own powers of magnetism, your own powers of attraction and seduction. And this is on an energetic level. So for some of you, this can manifest in a very matter-of-fact, literal way where you start having amazing sex, For many of you, though, this is so much deeper than that. This is talking about Lilith, who has been very much defined by her sexuality. I'm going to do a whole video on the dark feminine and all this. But she was kind of ostracized for being a highly sexual person, for not wanting to be defined by a man, for doing her own thing. She was demonized. And then we have that energy, but she is full of our like dark sexual desires and like the part of ourselves that we're like, ooh, like, I don't know if I can show that. And oftentimes society will shame us for that. And then the other card is the siren card, which is like, you know, the siren that would sing to the sailors to like gently kind of bring them in, and they would be under a trance. And so both of these elements of ourselves are highly intoxicating. They have this element of like, it is this kind of it is this prominent sexual energy within us that knows our own worthiness, that owns our own magnetism, our own value, and it makes us not necessarily like look for that outside of us. And because we're so deeply fulfilled internally, people will start seeing that within us and they become magnetized by that. They're like, she doesn't need anyone. She doesn't need anything but herself. And that is the most attractive and dangerous kind of person. And so that is what I'm seeing here for you guys. You're starting to like fill yourself up in this really beautiful and maybe sexual way where your energy just becomes contagious and magnetic and infectious, and people want what you have, but it's because you've prioritized and started loving yourself. And so I feel like that is going to make you just extremely attractive in general, but I think it's also going to really give back and fill your own cup. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. If that resonates, please let me know by commenting down below. But before you go, I am having a Mars workshop this Saturday. I highly recommend you guys sign up. It is going to be around the archetype of the warrior within us. So we're going to look at our chart to understand what that unique kind of secret sauce of our warrior is. And then we're going to go into these fun embodiment exercises, how we see when it's in or out of balance, and how to bring it back into balance. So I've never seen a workshop like this before. I've never done a workshop like this before. I highly recommend checking it out. And I just kind of want to see how you guys like it. So I'll see you guys on Saturday, and I hope you have a great one. Bye.